Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriritam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grananti Ye Bhurida Jana. So the discussion with the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna on the occasion of his birthday celebration is going on. So we will continue with the section where we ended in the last class. The master aside to Girindra, how well he has explained God with and without form. Do the Vaishnavas believe only in God with form? Girindra, perhaps so. They are one-sided. M. Did you understand what he meant by the eternal form of God? That quartz, I couldn't grasp it well. So, the context let us just discuss to understand this discussion. That we saw that in the previous class, Sri Ramakrishna gave that wonderful example. We can read it out from the section where he was indicating that Satchidananda is like the ocean. The eternal conscious principle is like the ocean. Because of the devotion of the devotee, he assumes the form of an iceberg. So, what he's saying, do you know what I mean? Satchidananda is like an infinite ocean. Intense cold freezes the water into ice, which floats on the ocean in blocks of various forms. Likewise, through the cooling influence of bhakti, one sees forms of God in ocean of the Absolute. These forms are meant for the bhaktas, the lovers of God. But when the sun of knowledge rises, the ice melts. It becomes the same water as it was before. Water above and water below, everywhere nothing but water. Therefore, a prayer in the Bhagavata says, O Lord, thou hast form, and thou art also formless. Thou walkest before us, O Lord, in the shape of a man. Again, thou hast been described in the Vedas as beyond words and thought. But you may say that for certain devotees, God assumes eternal forms. There are places in the ocean where the ice doesn't melt at all. It assumes the form of quartz. So as in the last class, while discussing this portion, we indicated that from the form to the formless. We resort to the meditation on form. As in the Sanatana Dharma, we find that God is meditated with form. A particular aspect of divinity, it has a form and it has a name. And we find that the other religions sometimes condemns the worship of God with form. But they don't realize that actually we too believe in the Nirakara, the formless aspect of the divine. And the form is a way to reach to the state of formlessness. It's a means. And in a very simple way, we try to understand that what this form leads to formlessness, how it leads, and what is the efficacy of meditating on form. As Swami Vivekananda in one of the places has described very nicely, what he's saying, that all our thoughts, just take the thoughts, it has two components. Suppose a person is not in your presence, and suddenly someone comes and starts speaking about him, just refers to him, just says his name. And as you are well acquainted with that person, the moment you hear the name, in your mind, you will find a visualization has formed. You visualize the form. What it speaks of, that each and every thought wave has two components, Nama, Rupa. The moment I say pot, immediately in my mind, I visualize what the pot is. Though it is not in my presence, I know what it is. I visualize what the pot is. The moment the word pot is pronounced, I know what the pot is. Its shape I know. So this Rupa and the name, the pot. So each and every thought wave has these two components, Nama, Rupa. Now when I resort to meditation, what I am doing, I am trying to keep my mind focused on the thought of the divine. Now, when I am repeating the name of the Lord, if I assume the aspect of the divinity as formless, then the meditation can become very, very abstract, very difficult. Why? That as each and every thought waves has this Nama and Rupa. Now here I am taking care of the Nama. I am just resorting to the name of the God. But the Rupa aspect, the thought has a visualization aspect, that is not taken care of. So as a result, what we will find, that though we are repeating the name, the visualization aspect of the mind is free. It goes on roaming and just try and visualizing all sorts of things. So the meditation becomes mechanical. I'm just mechanically repeating the name, but the form, as I'm not focusing my mind on any form, the visualization aspect of the mind is kept free. It is just moving around. You'll find it is a very common thing, that though I am repeating something mechanically, the mind is roaming, visualizing so many things. So this is a wonderful way of using the entire faculty of mind to be focused on the object of meditation. To try to visualize the form and repeat the name. So then the meditation becomes very effective, because you are taking care of both the aspects of your thought, the Nama as well as the Rupa. Now this meditation, and also another way it helps, the form, how it helps, it really helps to relate to something which is abstract. I will tell you a wonderful story. I don't know how much fact it is, but many say it is not a fact. But the story, the idea behind the story is wonderful. That in Iraq, when the war was going on in the refugee camp, many orphans were there. And one small orphan girl, she has lost his parents, she has lost her mother, her father. So before going to sleep, with a chalk in the floor, she drew a lady, which is supposed to be her mother. A big outline of a woman. She just kept her shoes outside, apart, went inside that outline, and just lied down and fell asleep. So what's the idea? That the mother is not there. She's an orphan. But she has a tremendous yearning for the mother. So she drew that outline, kept the slippers outside. That sense of sanctity is there. Kept the slippers outside. Mother is something pure. She's love. She's pure. Kept the slippers outside, went inside, fell asleep. Just see the emotion of that love, mother, the love for the mother, that is so abstract because mother is not there. She is resorting to that form. she's resorting, she has herself drew, went there. In the thought, she is resorting to that love of mother. This outline is helping her to calm down her mind. She is having that tremendous yearning for the mother. And that's how she somehow is finding solace and just going there and sleeping. So now I will understand that how the form can really help. It helps us to relate to some concept with emotion, binds us with emotion. And for meditation, emotion is a very significant factor. We think meditation is a matter of will. It's not a matter of will. It's of course a matter of will at the beginning. When my mind is not getting concentrated, I use my will force to bring it again and again from all the distractions to the object of meditation. I do it again and again. But through this repeated process, what happens? The mind gets wired up. As in the modern psychology, they say it's as a neuroplasticity. When the mind gets wired up, it's a nature of the mind. Whenever it gets wired up, a path is formed, it starts liking the thing which it is doing. So here also the same thing, by constant repetition, the emotion develops. The form helps to relate to that concept through emotion. And now the meditation enters into a state of spontaneity where the devotion has developed. Love is something, when the love is there, meditation becomes spontaneous. That example which we give again and again. When the mother never has to meditate on the child lest she forgets her child. The love makes her think of the child always. She did not have to sit and meditate. Whatever she may be doing, a part of her mind is always thinking of the child. Why? That emotion is the thing which helps us to remember that object of our love spontaneously. There is no effort required. So here also, when your meditation starts with the help of willpower, but then it enters into the stage of spontaneity where the devotion develops. Now what's happening? As your mind is now focused to the object of meditation, the more it gets focused, the other thing starts falling off. All the distraction starts falling off. That when I am watching the TV, the match which I am observing with full attention, as I really love that, watching that game. So someone calls me, I don't hear. Why? As my mind is totally absorbed in the game, though the sound is entering the ear, but the mind cannot process. Because the entire mind is taken away by the happenings which is going on the screen. So it cannot register, though it is entering. So similarly, the more the focus, even all other distractions in the form of biological alarm system. This, that our hunger, thirst, these are the biological alarm. They also are not registered. The last thing to fall off is the ego. Even then that falls off. Then that thing which is called in our scripture the samadhi. A man enters into the state of samadhi. From the thought, he goes to the state of thoughtlessness. There are many ways to understand it. Let us try to understand in this way, that in this world, everything is flowing. Nothing is just steady. Everything is flowing. That's why it is called sansar. Sansar means samsarate iti sansara. That everything is flowing constantly. Nothing is in a state of stability. And why everything is flowing? Because there is polarity. Like water flows from higher level to the lower level. If both the levels are same, the flow will stop. Electricity, why it is flowing? Because there is a potential difference. There is a higher there is positive potential, negative potential, and then the current flows. So everywhere we will find there is, because of polarity, there is a flow. Similarly, the mind is mind as long as it is jumping from thought to thought. There are so many thoughts. In a day we think more than 60,000 thoughts. So many thoughts. So it is constantly jumping from thought to thought. Through this intense meditation, what I have done, I have resolved the polarity. Previously, the mind was thinking A, B, C, D. Now it is thinking A. And when that becomes more intense, see, it starts with dharana, dhyana, samadhi. It is only qualitative difference. Dharana is meditation. Your mind has become focused. But it is that focus is not that intense. Then when dharana ripens into dhyana, it becomes more intense. The same thought in a very high frequency it is thinking. And then what happens at last? When that intensity of your similar thought becomes really great, the polarity has been resolved. It cannot anymore jump from thought to thought, the same thought. And then what happens? Suddenly the mind collapses. It goes to a state of thoughtlessness. When the mind collapses, it goes to a state of thoughtlessness. What happens? The mind is actually like a prism. When you keep the prism in presence of a white light, it breaks into the spectrum of 7 colors. Similarly, the conscious principle, in association with the mind, breaks into the spectrum of this world of name and form. The moment the mind collapses, through your meditation on the form, what to speak of that form? The entire creation as if collapses. You go to a state of thoughtlessness where entire creation has dissolved. Not only that, you are still aware of yourself, but that amness has lost its locality. Now I feel that I am sitting in one place, I am within this body-mind complex. And in that state, that amness alone is there without any boundary. It has become Brihat. The word Brahman came from Brih Dhatu. The Atman, which is localized, that has become Brahman. In that state, one realizes that's the only reality. That's the Satchidananda, that ocean of consciousness, which, because of how it has happened, we don't know. When it comes in association with the mind, and the consciousness gets associated with the mind, the ego develops. Then I come within this boundary and I start thinking I am this limited body-mind complex. So with the jnana, with the attainment of that knowledge, that realization, what happens? You go to the state of that Satchidananda, the ocean without boundary. What bhakti speaks of? Now, a devotee, it's a very interesting thing. From thought to thoughtlessness when you go, it's not that your mind will merge in thoughtlessness at the very first time. What happens as when I'm going for the first time to the state of thoughtlessness, my mind is already saturated with one thought, the thought of my meditation. We will understand that now, when I try to meditate, what happens? Maybe I can meditate for 5 minutes, my mind is focused, and then suddenly again the distraction comes back. We experience that. Why it happens? Because at present, my subconscious mind is full of distractions, sarvarthata. By practice, I have developed little meditation. So I can meditate for some time, but as my subconscious mind is full of distractions, they pop up in the mind and break my concentration. The more I go on concentrating, this ekagra vritti, this one thought, this one pointed thought, that samskara goes on increasing, sarvarthata goes on decreasing. And a time comes, all the distractions are washed away, the mind is full of ekagra vritti. And then still when you are continuing your meditation, now what happens? So initially, I was now and then going to that state of one-pointedness, and again it was getting distracted. But when I continue, after attaining that state of ekagrata, when I still continue with the meditation, my ekagrata becomes so intense, it takes me to the state of thoughtlessness. But as the subconscious mind is full of one thought, it cannot stay in the state of thoughtlessness for long. Again it comes back to the level of thought. But now as the mind has been cleansed of all distractions, when it comes down to the level of thought, it is only the thought of the Ishta. He can never think of anything else. He has already purified his mind. Now there, in that state, the question of choice comes. Some by temperament are devotional. They don't want to go to the state of thoughtlessness. They will consciously try not to go to that state of thoughtlessness. They bring down the mind through devotion again and again to the realm of thought. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that by bhakti, some portion of the ocean, we find that the water gets solidified into glacier, into the form of ice, which through jnana can again melt and become the ocean. Just see, from thought to thoughtlessness, the moment you are meditating on the nirguna aspect of your reality, it is again and again from this thought, it is taking to that thoughtlessness. But you, as if you are a devotee, you don't want to be in that state, you bring down the mind. Your mind is still having this ekagra vritti. So you bring down your mind to this ekagra vritti and don't try to cultivate that thoughtlessness more. You try to keep in the world of thought and relate with the Lord with devotion. That's in Chaitanya Charitamrita very nicely it has been mentioned, that I don't want to be sugar. I want to test the sugar. So a devotee wants to test the sugar. So he wants the form. So this is the state. And a real devotee, that what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that in some portion of the ocean, there are some portion of the ocean where the ice never melts. You go near these poles, the Arctic or the Antarctic, where the ice never melts. They have taken the form of as if a quartz. So what it speaks of, that a devotee never wants to merge his mind in the thoughtlessness by cleansing that one thought. The way we cleansed our mind from distraction to one thought, similarly it can be done in that higher level, where even that one thought can be cleansed and it can be merged in that thoughtlessness. A devotee never wants. So he wants to remain in the level of thought. That's how his mind, the form of the God has as it become like a quartz, as we find in the Arctic and in the Antarctic region. It's solidified permanently as if. So this is a wonderful example through which Sri Ramakrishna is trying to explain the experience of a mystic. In all the religions we find the mystics who are not satisfied just with the belief system. That we believe in God and we are satisfied with that. We never try to realize. But there are the passionate souls in every religion who is not satisfied just with the belief. They want to realize. And this realization can take him to that state where the form can merge in the formlessness. And if he wants, he can altogether merge his mind in the state of formlessness by again and again going to the state of formlessness and increasing the samskara of thoughtlessness and washing away this ekagra vritti, the ishta vritti, washing away. He can do that. Or he can come back again and again to the level of thought and avoid that thoughtlessness, so that the already purified mind, which you can never go back to the distractions, remains in the state of ekagra vritti, always contemplating on God, relating through devotion. So it is the choice there. Very interesting. We fight within the name of religion from a level where the fight has no meaning. I haven't realized what God is. It is just a belief, and we simply fight on the name of religion. The fight should have been there, but they never fight because they have realized that both the form and the formless are true. It is a form which can take you to the formless. And then the choice comes, as per your test, whether to remain in form or formless. But both are okay. Why? It has helped me to cleanse my mind and go beyond the distractions of this worldly level. If I am contemplating on God, it and never that mind comes down to the level of world, you are liberated. Or if you go to the level of thoughtlessness, you are liberated. So both are liberated. So in that way, both are okay. So that's the thing Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, that go to that ocean of Satchidananda. If you want You can relate to that ocean of Satchidananda in the form of those glaciers or the icebergs, the forms of God through your devotion, or you can melt it and again merge in that absolute ocean. Both are fine. So that's the wonderful example through which Sri Ramakrishna is showing the inclusivity, the Catholicity of all the various types of doctrines and dogmas which we find in all the religions. Everything, all these various concepts, with this wonderful example, he is bringing them into a sense of inclusion, that all are okay. And that's the thing on which the devotees were now, this Aim and Girindra were discussing. That today's discussion starts with that how well Aim is saying to Girindra, that how well he has explained God with and without form. Do the Vaishnavas believe only in God with form? Girindra, perhaps so. Aim, did you understand what he meant by the eternal form of God, that quartz? I couldn't grasp it well. Now the master to M, well, what are you talking about? So now M and Girindra smiled and remained silent. Later in the afternoon, the devotees were singing in the Panchavati. When the master joined them, they sang together in praise of the Divine Mother. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening. The master was sitting with the devotees on the southeast veranda of his room. Master, a holy man who has renounced the world will of course chant the name of God. That is only natural. He has no other duties to perform. If he meditates on God, it shouldn't surprise anybody. On the other hand, if he fails to think of God or chant his holy name, then people will think ill of him. But it is a great deal to his credit if a householder utters the name of the Lord. Think of King Janaka. What courage he had indeed. He fenced with 2 swords, the one of knowledge and the other of work. He possessed the perfect knowledge of Brahman and also was devoted to the duties of the world. An unchaste woman attains to the minutest duties of the world, but her mind always dwells on her paramour. The constant company of holy men is necessary. The holy man introduces one to God. So this is the thing. After speaking of that high exalted state, where you can relate to the divine both in its form and its formless aspect, Sri Ramakrishna is saying that our journey starts here, even as a householder. That he is encouraging, that it is very difficult with all the responsibilities to think of God. What he is saying, very interesting, that a sadhu will have to think of God because he has left all his responsibilities. So throughout the day, what he will do? He should think of God. There is no credit for thinking of God for such a person. If he doesn't do that, people will criticize him. But a householder who has so many duties, for him to just keep a time apart and think of God, or even when he is doing all his duties, as he gives that example, a paramour, a unchaste woman thinks of the paramour all the time. Whatever work she is doing, the mind is always with the one whom she loves. What it speaks of, that even as a householder, if we have real love for God, then in spite of all our actions, our mind will always remain in communion with the divine. The so-called all the activities in no way can make me forget God. There's a nice, the stories are there, wonderful story. This Sri Ramakrishna's, these words makes us remind of a Puranic story, a story in the Purana, which Sri Ramakrishna relates in some other portion of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We find it in the Gospel, in some other context it is there. What's the story? That once Narada felt that he is the greatest devotee. And just to get it confirmed, he knew that he is the greatest devotee. He went to Vishnu and asked, Lord, who is the greatest devotee? He thought that most probably Vishnu will say, You are the greatest devotee. But to our Narada's surprise, what Vishnu told, he told that a farmer, an ordinary farmer, throughout the day he is plowing his land, busy with his work, never getting time to take the name of the Lord. He takes the name of the Lord only, most probably, before going to work in the morning and after coming back from the work in the evening. That's what his relation with God is, taking the name in the morning and in the evening, and throughout the day he is busy. And at night he is so tired he is sleeping. And Bhagavan says that he is the greatest devotee. Narada is surprised. He says, how can it be? He is so much entangled with the world. He cannot take your name. Just twice he takes, in the morning and in the evening. Vishnu smiled and he told a very interesting thing. He asked Narada, he gave Narada a bowl of oil filled to the brim. And in the court where lot of singing and dancing was going on, he asked Narada to take that oil and go around, and told that just see that the oil doesn't spill off. Now Narada had a tremendous concentration of mind. Nothing could distract him. With that bowl of oil, he went around and not a single drop of oil could spill over. But when he came back, now Vishnu asked him that when you were going around, how many times did you think of me? He told, how is it possible? My mind was totally focused on this bowl of oil, lest it spills over. And then Bhagavan said, that farmer, he's so busy with his worldly duty, so entangled, but still he gets time to call on me morning and evening. Now you think who is a devotee, who is a great devotee. So that's how Bhagavan is showing that a householder, in spite of all his duties, if he can make out some time to think of him, then really credit goes to him. God has a special favor for him. So here also Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, but what all these stories are actually meant for, these are called Arthavada. That's just to motivate us. These stories have been framed to motivate us to take the name of the Lord. That if you take at least once, what happens? Gradually your taste for taking the name of the Lord will grow. That what with the thing which is just a small ripple at present, in future it will become a tsunami. That's what in the Narada Bhakti Sutra is mentioned. A small ripple will become tsunami in time. So that's just to motivate us to do that in spite of all your activities, find out some time, take the name of the Lord. You know it for certain that this repetition at last will develop a tremendous love for the divine. That how the devotion can be developed? Bhaktya sanjayate bhakti. Go on practicing. Today's practice is going to get ripened into devotion tomorrow. That most of us complain that you say, be devoted to God. I don't feel devotion. How can I be devoted to God? That love, you say love God. I don't feel love. I cannot force love. So the scriptures say, you need not bother. Go on repeating the name of Lord. The love will come in time. As Sri Ramakrishna used to give a very nice example. In a hot, sultry weather, we are feeling very warm and uncomfortable. So use a hand fan to relieve yourself from this tremendous heat. And suddenly the southern breeze starts blowing. What will happen? The hand fan will automatically fall from your hand. There is no need for it. So all this Vaidhi Bhakti is just like that hand fan. First with your willpower you go on repeating again and again. And then the southern breeze blows, the love develops. And then there is no need of the hand fan. So Vaidhi Bhakti gets ripened into Raganuraga Bhakti. So to encourage that, Sri Ramakrishna is just saying that for a householder who takes the name of the Lord, credit goes to him. So by saying that, he is encouraging them that yes, I understand that you are so busy with your worldly duties, but don't forget him. Whenever you get chance, take the name of Lord. There are so many nice incidences in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna one day was returning from a Brahmo prayer in a horse carriage. He was going back from that Brahmo prayer. He was returning to his residence in Dakshineshwar Kali temple. On the way, the house of the Kaviraj, the Ayurvedic doctor, was just on the way. Now, the Ayurvedic doctor was supposed to deliver some medicine, to give some medicine to Sri Ramakrishna. But because he was busy, he forgot. Now, as he was passing by that way, Sri Ramakrishna asked the cabman to stop the carriage, and his nephew was accompanying him. The master, the author of the gospel, Mahendra, was there, and the nephew was there. And Sri Ramakrishna asked his nephew, Ramlal, to go to the Kaviraj and get the medicine ready and bring it. So as the horse carriage was stopped, now the cabman knew that it will take some time, because in those days, it's not like the present day. The medicine has to be prepared. He has to mix all the ingredients and prepare the medicine. So it will take some time. So the cabman knew that he has to wait there for some time. So what he did, immediately he got down from his horse and opened the buckle of the horse, released the horse, because as it is always buckled. So to just make the horse relax, it opened the buckles. Immediately the horse went to the side of the road, and on the side of the road there was some grass. A strip of grass was there, and immediately it started nibbling on that grass, eating that grass. Sri Ramakrishna, the master of example, seeing that, immediately he told Master Moshe a wonderful thing. But see, our condition is just like that horse. We are also tightened with our duties and responsibilities to this world of samsara. But now and then, the cabman, the God, most probably, he releases us, gives us a little relaxation. Don't forget to nibble on the grass. Don't forget to take the name of Lord. What a wonderful example he's giving. So that's what for householders. By that, taking the name of the Lord whenever the chance permits, gradually this devotion develops. Once it develops, then there is no fear. That's why even in Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Practice a little. You will be saved from great danger. Mahato bhayat. With a little practice, once you develop a little love, now nothing can deter you, nothing can stop you. That love will force you to evolve spiritually till you reach the highest rung of the spiritual evolution. It will force you. In spite of your willingness or unwillingness, because of the circumstances, sometimes you may find that you are not getting sufficient time. But the love which you have developed will make you like that unchaste woman who is always thinking of the paramour. You become something like that. Nothing can make you forget of the divine. In spite of all the hindrances, you will find you're evolving. It's just like a drug addict. In the opposite way, a drug addict knows that the addiction is harming him, but it cannot get rid of the addiction. Similarly, a devotee, once it develops the love, that even the entire world comes and tries to explain him that this devotion and all are nonsense, he cannot stop. That we find even in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very interesting, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was totally inebriated with the devotion of love for God, Mother Sachidevi was highly concerned that most probably Nimai may leave her. And then the neighbors, they came and tried to explain the superiority of Grihastha Dharma. That you have to stay in house and you're already married, you have to take care of your wife, your mother. And staying in house, you have to practice your devotion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never tried to argue with them. What he told is something very interesting. What you say, I understand. Yes, I also accept that the household, for me, the householder's duty is the thing, is a must, and through that also you can realize God. But I am helpless. The tremendous love which I have developed for God is making me forget everything. So that's the thing. In spite of yourself, you will be forced to think of the Lord constantly. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. So that's why he's giving so much importance to the repetition of the name of God. And that's why he's encouraging a devotee by saying that in spite of all your responsibilities, take the name of Lord. He knows very well that this itself, though at present is like a ripple, will become a tsunami in time. So that's the idea which we find how wonderfully Sri Ramakrishna is indicating through this example. And then Kedar, yes sir, the great soul is born in the world for the redemption of humanity. He leads others to God, just as a locomotive engine takes along with it a long train of carriages. Or again, he is like a river or lake that quenches the thirst of many people. So, this is the thing, that there are, once a spiritual aspirant goes to the realization, he is liberated. No one can again bring him down to this world of phenomenal existence. He is liberated. But there is a classification among those liberated souls based on their efficacy as per the world's, as per the humanity is concerned, that how they can be effective in helping others to go to that state. That some are like a small boat who somehow can cross the river alone. If someone just gets up on that boat will capsize. They don't have that power. But some are like a huge ship. They carry with them others also to the other shore of existence. So that's what Kedar is indicating. That the realized soul, all the realized soul will be liberated. But some are like that small boat. They themselves can somehow manage to cross the river. But others are like that huge ship. In Buddhism, they use the word that Mahayana. Mahayana. You know, that's one sect of Buddhism is called Mahayana. What that means? The same meaning. That this the doctrine which we believe is like the ship, a big ship which can carry thousands. Now in Buddhism you will find that the meditative, the contemplative tradition of Buddhism speaks of meditation as the only practice. They don't give much importance to the other rituals and other paraphernalia. But in Mahayana we find that Buddha is almost worshipped like God. There, like Hinduism, we will find a lot of rituals, and they call it Mahayana. Why? Because there are many people, though that meditation is the highest form of meditation, but they are not up to it. They cannot resort to that type of meditation, that type of discipline. So is liberation not meant for them? Yes, for them also the liberation is. So they start with all those elaborative ritualistic practices that is accepted. With that you start, gradually you can go to that state. So that's why it's called Mahayana. It's like a big ship. So that's the idea here. Here that these avatars who prescribe that the devotion to God, even as a householder, a little practice can take you to that liberation. who can just assure us of that? The man of big heart who went to the realization, and he knows that how this little practice can gradually make your sanskaras more intensified, at last almost overwhelming your personality, overhauling your personality, and taking you to the highest rung of spiritual realization. So they are including all. And that's the thing Kedar is indicating. After hearing the words of Sri Ramakrishna, indirectly is indicating as if Ramakrishna also is an avatar. He is including everyone, leaving out none. He is encouraging everyone, taking everyone along with him to go to the other shore of this worldly existence. So that's what he said. Yes, sir, the great soul is born in the world for the redemption of humanity. He leads others to God, just as the locomotive engine takes along with it a long train of carriages. Or again, he is like a river or lake that quenches the thirst of many people. An unknown Bengali dressed in the ochre cloth of a monk entered the room and sat on the floor. The master's mind was coming down to the ordinary plane of consciousness. Presently he began to talk, though the spell of samadhi still lingered. Master at the sight of the ochre cloth. Why this gerua? Should one put on such a thing for a mere fancy? A man once said, I have exchanged the chandi for a drum. At first he used to sing the holy songs of the chandi, now he beats the drum. So what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that all laugh. Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that unless the mind has cleansed, just taking a particular garb can be harmful instead of helping us spiritually. Why? Because all our fear factor falls off. He resorts to hypocrisy. As Swami Vivekananda in one place told, that the path of spirituality is not that easy. That if 100 people, 100 persons are in pursuit of spiritual evolution, he's saying, know it for certain, of that 80% will be hypocrites. 15% will be mentally deranged. And only 5% are those who are sincerely try to reach the goal. That's the statistics which he is giving. So here also Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that many resort to religion just to make a show of it. They are called dharma dhwaji. Dhwaji means flag. That dharma is just like the flag for him. That when you hoist a flag, always we hoist a flag in the height, so that all can see. Even from a distance it is visible. That's why we hoist the flag up in the sky. So some will be using the religion just as a flag to make a show of it. As Swami Vivekananda used to say very nicely, that how much energy we waste just to show others that I am a holy man, I am a good person. How much energy we waste. If I would have used that energy to really become a good man, I would have transformed. What a wonderful thing he is saying. So here also we find that to take a garb, even in a play, in a show, he is saying is a type of mithyachara. All your fear factors fall off. It is not good. That why this gerua? Should one put on such a thing for just mere fancy? There are 3 or 4 varieties of renunciations. Afflicted with miseries at home, one may put on the ochre cloth of a monk, but that renunciation doesn't last long. Again, a man out of work puts on an ochre wearing cloth and goes off to Benares. After 3 months, he writes home, I have a job here. I shall come home in a few days. Don't worry about me. Again, a man may have everything he wants. He lacks nothing, yet he does not enjoy his possessions. He weeps for God alone. That is real renunciation. So for most of us, we will find that at some point of time in our life, at certain phase, we think we have developed renunciation. But most of the time what we will find, if we really try to adjust the situation, we will find that we are actually have not developed renunciation. Renunciation is actually our comfort zone. It is our security zone. Sometimes the challenges of life are so intense. To avoid the challenges, I think, I must probably don't like all those things, I will renounce. So if to avoid the challenges of life, I am resorting to renunciation, that renunciation won't last long. The real renunciation speaks of the tremendous yearning to be liberated, yearning for God. If that hasn't developed, that as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, there's two things: Vishaye Virag, Ishware Anurag. That dispassion for the worldly things and love for God, these two should go hand in hand. Only dispassion for worldly things, even you will find if that some person who are mentally deranged have developed tremendous depression. They are not interested in anything. So Vishaya Virag, we find even in a depressed person. Can I say that he is a religious person? No. So Vishaya Virag alone is not sufficient. Along with that, Ishware Anurag. That should have tremendous passion for the subtleties of our spiritual dimension of our existence. Unless I have the tremendous yearning, passion, the renunciation most of the time is just running away from life. It doesn't last long. It's very, very temporary. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, that there are 3 or 4 varieties of renunciation. Afflicted with miseries at home, one may put on the ochre cloth. So he's just trying to avoid the challenges of life, the difficulties of life, and he's taking the ochre cloth of a monk. But that renunciation doesn't last long. Again, a man out of work puts on an ochre cloth and goes off to Benares. After 3 months, he writes home, I have a job here. I shall come home in a few days. Don't worry about me. But here again, the third is the last one is the real renunciation. Again, a man may have everything, like Gautam Buddha, the prince. Just to make him forget about the sufferings of life, he was kept in a palace where you never encounter the sufferings of life. But the tremendous yearning to find the meaning of life made him renounce everything and take the path of sannyasa. That's the real renunciation. Again, a man may have everything he wants. He lacks nothing, yet he does not enjoy his possessions. He weeps for God alone. That is real renunciation. No lie of any sort is good. A false garb, even though a holy one, is not good. If the outer garb does not correspond to the inner thought, it gradually brings ruin. Uttering false words or doing false deeds, one gradually loses all fear. Far better is the white cloth of a householder. Attachment to worldliness, occasional lapses from the ideal, and an outer garb of Gerua. How dreadful. So that hypocrisy, the biggest danger of hypocrisy is you lose the fear. We all lose the fear of doing the same mistake. That how a thief gets caught. You will find that most probably he is a very clever person. Many times he has resorted to stealing. He never got caught. At last he gets caught. When? Because of repeated stealing, a confidence develops that, he will never be caught. And from where that confidence came? From the lack of fear. Because he was not caught for so many times. The fear factor is gone. And then a little carelessness, with that, at last we find that though he was so confident, he gets caught. So with the hypocrisy, what happens? All the fear factor falls off. In spiritual life, the fear is the second line of defense. Second line of defense. When I was posted to the tribal belt in India, we have some educational institution there, And so many senior monks were advising me about the environment there, the students there. So one Swami told a very interesting thing, that you go there, you will find there the pure souls, that so nice, so naive, so innocent. But there's one difficulty, that when they get angry, that can be tremendous rage. Suddenly that's such a soft, nice boy, you will find goes to a rage. And maybe it may be for small reason. And I did realize that too. And then he told, that's the beauty of education. What it does, it helps us to develop the second line of defense in our mind. So when we are getting educated as a small child, that we know that if I do some mistake, these are the consequences I have to face. So the next time I do the mistake, is already in my mind, it has been registered. These are the consequences I'm going to face. This is the second line of defense. That I am not supposed to do some mistake because of my own, this character integrity. But I may not be having that highest motivation. I may be lured. This second line of defense will help me not to just disintegrate myself. That the fear factor. If I do get lured and do some mistake, the consequences which I have to face, that is always in my mind. And that saves me. But when I go on resorting to hypocrisy, lie again and again, this second line of defense, that gets weakened. When the ideal is no more there in my mind, that ideal is no more motivating me, nothing is there to stop me to fall to this utter depth of degradation. So that's why he's saying never resort to this hypocrisy. The second line of defense, that's the fear factor, that will be totally destroyed. And that can lead to that utter destruction. If that fear factor is there, even if the ideal is not inspiring you, at least this fear factor won't allow you to fall. That will stop you. You will still be integrated. But if that's gone, your integrity is gone. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying, no lie of any sort is good. A false garb, even though a holy one, is not good. If the outer garb does not correspond to the inner thought, it gradually brings ruin. Uttering false words or doing false deeds, one gradually loses all fear. Far better is the white cloth of a householder. Attachment to worldliness, occasional lapses from the ideal, and an outer garb of Gerua, how dreadful. It is not proper, a Brahmo devotee, Master, it is not good for a devotee to play such parts. It is not proper for a righteous person to tell a lie or do something false even in a dramatic performance. Once I went to Keshav's house to see the performance of a play called Nava Vrindavan. They brought something on the stage which they called the cross. Another actor sprinkled water, which they said was the water of peace. I saw a third actor staggering and reeling in the role of a drunkard. A Brahmo devotee, it was K. Master, it is not good for a devotee to play such parts. It is bad for the mind to dwell on such subjects for a long while. The mind is like a white linen, fresh from the laundry. It takes the color in which you dip it. If it is associated with falsehood for a long time, it will be stained with falsehood. So this is interesting, that neither we should fake ourselves as a holy man, nor we should even fake ourselves as an evil person, even in some, just here is the drama. Why? Because where your mind dwells, that you become. If you are constantly culturing evil thoughts, evil deeds, that's the thing which is getting registered in your mind. And what gets registered in your mind, you are bound to do it today or tomorrow, because that becomes your impelling factor. It will impel you. So never dwell in bad things. Sometimes we think, oh, it is just for entertainment. I am just watching such movie which depicts too much of crime. how it is going to harm me. It is just for my entertainment. But know it for certain, as you are constantly dwelling in that, gradually, unconsciously, that is going to change your character. It will make you an evil person. Whenever any criminal is caught doing all the heinous acts, you will find that the investigation team, when they search their mobile, they will find that he was watching all sorts of nonsense. That's the thing which has changed him. So he most probably, when started, it was just with the idea, it is just for my entertainment. It has nothing to do with my life. But that gradually starts affecting what is in your mind, that will find expression through your action. The mind is the motivating factor. What is, or what you culture. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that mind is just like that linen. That when whatever color you put, it will take that color. So be very careful. Never dwell in negative thoughts. Never dwell even in negative acts, even just as a mere play. Never do that. Because it is, if you are truly a sincere spiritual practitioner, it is going to harm you. So this is the line of discussion which is going on. If a little more, a few more passages remain before this section, this chapter will be over. Most probably in the next class, this 8th chapter, the Master's birthday celebration at Dakshineshwar, that we will be concluding with a few more paragraphs to remaining for the discussion. So with this, we stop our discussion today, and we will again continue with the remaining portion of this section again in the next class. With this, we conclude our class today. Thank you all. Namaskars.